Okay, so anytime we have a line is going to have a slope in the XY plane. So what do we mean by that? So I have X and Y, and that's my first line. My second line, let me do one more. Third line. So I have three different lines here, but the way the three lines are sloping are not the same. In the sense, that line would have the highest slope. Think of it like climbing a mountain. So this particular line is extremely steep in the sense it has a very high slope, and it's going to be hard for you to climb. The line in blue has a slope that's in the middle, and the one in orange has the lowest slope. So it's not as steep as the other two lines. So that's what we mean by a slope. If you can't associate to the mountain example, think of a ladder that is leaning against a wall. So if you are getting to a really tall spot in your house or a tree, you have to make the slope as small as possible so that you can get to the top. As high as possible. And if you just want to reach some lower point, you'd bring the ladder down. And if you don't want to climb at all, you would lay that ladder flat. If the ladder is flat on the ground, then there is no slope to that ladder at all. So it has a zero slope. So anytime we have lines, we have to look at the slope of the line. It is one of the things that would define a line. So we can simply look at the slope and determine the type of line we have. So I'm going to pick some values here. 0, 1, 2, -1, -2. Let's just say that that is 3. That is 5. Now, what is happening to the value of y as x is changing? So when x was -2, the value of y was right there. When x is -1, the value of y is right there. When x is 0, the value of y is right there. When x is 1, it is at 3. And when x is 2, it is at 5. So from left to right, the x value increases. What happened to the value of y? Y went from here, which is a negative value, to there, which is negative, and then it jumped over there, and it became 3, then 5. So x is increasing, and y is increasing also. So if you have a line where x increases and y also increases, then we call the line is increasing. And the slope would be positive. So here is another case. So when x is -2, y is +2. When x is -1, y is 1. When x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, y is -1. When x is 2, y is -2. Now, if you can't see it right there, you could also use the table. So when x is -2, y is 2. When x is -1, y is 1. When x is 0, y is 0. When x is 1, y is -1. When x is 2, y is -2. So if you look at our table, x is increasing over here, goes from -2 all the way up to +2, but y behaves in the reverse manner, starts at 2, and it's going toward -2. So as x increases here, y decreases. So it's behaving in an opposite manner. So here we can conclude that the line is decreasing, and the slope of the line will be negative. So if we have a horizontal line, for example, y equals 2, then it's not going up, it's not going down, it's just flat. So 0, and that would be 2. So that is a horizontal line, and the slope is 0 for any horizontal line. Likewise, this is sort of as tricky, but so if we have a vertical line, let's say that the vertical line passes through x is equal to 2, it is like climbing a mountain that has a vertical surface. It is impossible. It is extremely steep to climb. So if you keep on going from a flat line, keep on tilting it upward and upward and upward, the slope gets larger and larger and larger. Eventually, when it goes to a vertical line, we simply say that the slope is undefined. So the slope is positive for an increasing line, slope is negative for a decreasing line, slope is 0 for a horizontal line, and for a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Now, how do we find the slope? The slope is calculated using a very simple formula. And this would work both for increasing as well as decreasing lines. So high school, middle school, probably people would call this as rise over run. Rise over run and slope are one and the same things. So all we have to do is pick 2 points on the x-axis. So we'll call that x1, x2, and 2 points on the y-axis, y1, y2. So that is what we call the run, and that length is rise. So the slope, usually denoted by the letter m, is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. That is the formula for slope. Now, so where x1, y1 and x2, y2 are points on the line, these points have to lie on the line or else it wouldn't make any sense at all. So the formula for slope is simply y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1, where the coordinate pairs are x1, y1 and x2, y2. So here are a few problems. So we have to find the slope of a line that goes through the following points. Now, it really doesn't matter which coordinate pair you call it as x1, y1, as long as you keep the x and y together in the same pair. So I like to call the first one x1, y1 and the second one as x2, y2. So what is the slope? So m would simply be equal to y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is 11, y1 is 2, so minus 2, divided by x2 is 8, x1 is 3, 8 minus 2 is 9, 11 minus 2 is 9, and 8 minus 3 is 5. So the slope is 9 over 5, and the line here is increasing. because the slope is positive. Next example, we have 1, 6, 7, and 11, just to illustrate the point that it really doesn't matter which point is x1, y1, and which other point is x2, y2. This time, I'm going to call the first point as x2, y2, and the second one as x1, y1. So the slope formula is still the same, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Y2 is 6, y1 is 11, x2 is 1, x1 is 7. So 6 minus 11 is -5. 1 minus 7 is -6. The negatives will get cancelled, so we would have 5/6. So the line in this case is also increasing. The reason being the slope is positive. So here I'm going to call x1, y1, 3,7, and -2, 11, I'll call it x2, y2. The slope is simply y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. 11 minus 7 divided by x2 is -2 and x1 is 3, so -3. 11 minus 7 is 4. -2 minus 3 is -5. So we have -4/5. So the slope is -4/5, which would mean the line that is passing through those 2 points is decreasing. And lastly, we have x1, y1, 4,2. x2, y2 is 4,0. The slope again is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So 0 minus 2 divided by 4 minus 4. The numerator, 0 minus 2, is -2. The denominator is 0. You simply cannot divide a number by 0. If you divide a number by 0, it is undefined. So the slope here is undefined. If the slope is undefined, the line is vertical. And you've got to be careful in realizing that having a 0 slope is not the same as having undefined slope. They're not the same thing. 0 slope simply means 0. 0 is defined. So 0 slope and undefined slope are not the same thing, and they actually represent different lines. 0 slope would imply the line is horizontal. Undefined slope would imply that the line is vertical. So here we have 2 points, x1, y1, and x2, y2. Again, we're trying to find the slope of the line that is going to go through the flowing points. So the slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. y2 is 0, y1 is 6, so -6. x2 is -3, x1 is 0, -0. So we have 0 minus 6, which is -6. -3 minus 0 is -3. The negatives would go away, and 6/3 is 2. So the slope here is 2 and the line is increasing. Now this one is a bit tricky. X is just 1. You may look at it and say, whoa, I mean, we don't have any 2 points and this is just an equation. I don't even see y here. So how do we find the solution or find an answer? X is equal to 1 simply means a vertical line passing through 1. The slope is undefined. So x, y, and if x is equal to 1, it simply means a vertical line. So we know a vertical line has undefined slope. So since x equals positive 1 is a vertical line, the slope is undefined. We have an equation in this problem, x plus 2 is equal to 0. All we have to do is rewrite this, move the 2 to the other side. So x plus 2, if I move the 2 to the other side, the positive 2 would simply become negative 2. X equal to negative 2 is simply a vertical line passing through x is equal to negative 2. So that line is x is equal to negative 2. So that vertical line will have a slope that is undefined as well. The last case is y equal minus 3. Now, if we have x equaling some constant number, then that is a vertical line. If y equals some fixed number, such as minus 3, then the line that we have is horizontal. So in this case, no matter what value of x we plug in, we are going to get y to be equal to negative 3. So that's the line going through negative 3. Now it is. So it is a horizontal line which would mean slope is 0. So here we want to find the slope and intercept of a line. Now, anytime you see y equals, f of x, we can simply replace it by y. That is standard notation. Whether we call it f of x or y, it's one and the same in math. In advanced math, things change, but in this class, y equals f of x, g of x, h of x, and so forth. Now, y equals mx plus b is what we call the slope-intercept form of the line. M is the slope, and b is the y-intercept. And you may say, well, what is the y-intercept? Y-intercept so if you go back to the lines that I drew at the very beginning, so I have a point there, there, and there. Those are the points where the lines cut the y-axis or pass through the y-axis, and those points are what we call the y-intercepts. So how do we find the y-intercept if we have an equation? So if you look at this problem, I have y equals 5x minus 2. I can write that as y equals 5x plus minus 2. Plus times minus is minus. Now all we have to do is compare this equation to the equation that we know, which is that. So by direct one-to-one comparison, this would be y equals mx plus b, which would mean m is 5, b is negative 2. So the slope is 5, and y-intercept is negative 2. In the next equation, we don't have y equals something. Rather, we have minus 5x plus y equals 10. So the first thing that we have to do is to make sure that only y is on the left-hand side. How do we go about doing that? Keep y on the left-hand side, move the negative 5x to the right-hand side. If negative 5x moves from one side to another, it would become positive 5x. And we already have a 10 on the right-hand side, so that would be 10. Now it looks like y equals mx plus b, so I could directly compare to y equals mx plus b. So the slope is 5, the intercept is 10. So the key here is to make sure we have only y on the left-hand side, and the right-hand side should look like mx plus b. So the first step is to move the 3x to the other side. So we have minus 4y equals negative 3x. When it goes to the other side, it becomes positive 3x plus 6. Divide by negative 4 on both sides. So minus 4y over minus 4 equals 3x over minus 4 plus 6 over minus 4, which would mean y is equal to negative 3 over 4x. Now there is a 2 in common between 6 and negative 4, so I could write it as plus negative 3 over 2. Now, if I compare that to the equation, we know that y is equal to mx plus b, so mx plus b. So m would be negative 3 over 4. B is negative 3 over 2. So the slope is negative 3 over 4. The y-intercept is negative 3 over 2. So the last problem, you look at it and you say, oh, that doesn't even look like mx plus b. Well, the first thing that you've got to realize is anytime you have f of x refers to y. So this is simply y equals negative 1 over 4 x. But then you see that there is no b. If there is no b, it is the same as saying y is equal to negative 1 over 4x plus 0. You can add 0 to anything, and it's not going to change the algebra. So I can throw in 0 anywhere I want. So you can also subtract 0, but negative doesn't matter when you have 0. So if you look at that expression after we add that 0, we have y equals mx plus b, and the m here would be negative 1 over 4. So the slope is negative 1 over 4, and the y-intercept is 0. Okay,